Well, the other day I drove the Volvo here up from Connecticut up here to New Hampshire, about a 200-mile trip, and I was just about here. I got about 185, 190 miles when all of a sudden on comes a check engine light, and the code I got was actually a P0420 code, which came up as an idle air control code. And I was thinking that might have been because I had recently replaced a mass airflow sensor. I replaced it because sometime back, the original mass airflow sensor in this vehicle, this is a 1999, the engine had started to run really rough and it would stall out and what have you, so I went ahead and cleaned it with some cleaner, put it back in, the stalling went away and the engine light went off. And it had run very well in the several months since I did that, but I decided to go ahead and replace the MAF sensor just in the chance that it was going bad, and I thought it might be a good idea to replace it anyway, so I did that. And like I said, at the end of my just about 200-mile trip, that code tripped, so I shut the light off. I put the original MAF sensor back in and hoping to see what happens. So I drove it around probably 15 or 20 miles over the course of a day or so, just a couple of short trips. And on comes the engine light again. And this time when I hooked up the scan tool, I have a really cheap Chinese scan tool here, no big deal, but it at least does pull codes. I got this code 0455 for an evap emissions leak, a large leak that is. And not knowing much about this code, doing some of my research, I found out that quite a bit of the time, sometimes a loose gas cap or a gas cap with a worn out seal can in fact trip this code. And other times it can obviously be bigger things. But me not being very knowledgeable, being sort of a novice in this area, all I did was I went ahead and took the gas cap, took it off, looked at it. The seal looked pretty good. So I just screwed it back on, made sure it was nice and tight. And the game plan right now is I'm going to erase the code. I'm going to drive, I have to make a trip now about 10 miles down, 10 miles back. So I'm going to erase the code, I'm going to do a little bit of driving, see if the code comes back. And if it does, we will reassess the situation from there. It's been about 9 or 10 days since I shot the beginning part of this video. I actually kind of forgot about it in the time that I had shot it and meant to give an update. I drove back here to Connecticut, about 200-mile trip. I've done some other driving throughout the week. Probably gone well over 300 miles. And those two codes that I referenced in the first part of the video, they haven't popped back up. I haven't gotten a check engine light, either on highway driving, city driving, anything like that. And what I'm hoping is that the codes don't return, because I'm due for my emissions tests by the middle of September. And I just went through emissions last year, but here in Connecticut, if you miss the due date for your test, you're penalized by having to do it again the next year instead of every 2 years. And when I had purchased this vehicle, it hadn't been on the road in 4 years. So basically I was penalized for the previous owner not having driven it or emissions tested the vehicle. But anyways, I'm hoping that the readiness monitors are in good order, so that I can pass my emissions test. And this unit, this automobile code reader here, is a very cheap one, obviously from China. And you see there it says readiness not 1, and I'd like to believe that. But when I go into the readiness, monitor readiness thing, it says basically for all the monitors, it says NA not applicable. And that's just not true. It doesn't tell you which ones are ready or which ones are not ready. The only one there, comprehensive component, says it's okay. The rest of them say not applicable. So I'm really not sure what to believe there. So hopefully I don't get any more codes, and right now I'll just monitor the situation, and I will post any more updates. Thanks for watching.